tried to make plans in French, maybe say something simple like, let's meet next Tuesday, and just frozen up? It happens to pretty much everyone. Well, don't worry. Today we're going to crack the code on talking about time in French, from dates and clocks to telling a story. Let's dive in.
Does this sound a little too familiar? You're trying to explain your weekend, or maybe just how long you've been learning French, and bam, you're caught in this web of weird prepositions and verb tenses. It's a classic stumbling block for French learners, but we're about to jump right over it.
I promise, in just the next few minutes, we're going to give you the essential tools you need. By the end of this, you'll have a super clear, simple framework so you can finally express yourself with confidence.
All right, first things first, we have to lay the foundation, right? So we're going to start with the absolute basics, getting comfortable with the calendar and the clock.
Okay, so stating the date in French is actually way simpler than you might think. It all boils down to one easy formula. You can see it here. To say it's February 3rd, you just say Nous sommes le 3 février. Let's break down how that works.
It's a simple three-step recipe. You start with nous sommes le, or if you want to be a bit more casual, on est le. Then you just pop in the number and finish with the month. So, on est le 25 juin. See? A super simple pattern you can use every single time.
Now pay attention, because this is a detail that trips up so many people. The difference between saying lundi and le lundi. If you say lundi je suis à Berlin, you're talking about one specific Monday. But add that little word le, and le lundi je suis à Lyon now means you're in Lyon every Monday. That tiny le changes everything from a one-time thing to a habit. It's a small word with a huge impact.
And guess what? Telling time follows a very similar predictable pattern. You almost always kick things off with elle est. So for 1 o'clock, elle est une heure. For 8 o'clock, elle est 8 heures. And check out how they handle the minutes. Et quart for a quarter past and moins les quart for a quarter to. It's a really clean, simple system once you see it.
Okay, so you can set a date, you can set a time, you're basically setting the scene. So what if you want to describe that scene? Let's look at another super common way to use these kinds of phrases, talking about the weather. In French, you've basically got three main formulas for the weather. First, you can use il fait with an adjective, like il fait chaud, it's hot. Or you can use il y a with a noun, like il y a du soleil, there is sun. And for rain and snow, it's even easier. The verb just stands on its own. Il pleut, it's raining. Il neige, it's snowing. Simple as that.
So we've set the scene, now it's time for some action. Let's get into the absolute backbone of French verbs, the group. Seriously, if you can master this, you unlock the ability to say literally thousands of things. So, why are these verbs such a big deal? Because they are the largest group of regular verbs in the entire language. And that means once you learn the pattern for just one of them, you've learned it for all of them. It is the ultimate shortcut in French grammar, for real.
Here's how it works. You take a verb, let's say parler, which means to speak. You just chop off that ER from the end. What you're left with is called the radical, or the stem. In this case, parle. That's your foundation.
And now, for the magic part, you just stick the right ending onto that stem. For je, it's E. For tu, it's ES. For il, it's E again. For nous, ONS. For vous, EZ. And for ils, it's ENT. You just have to memorize these 6 little endings, and you have just unlocked a massive piece of the French language. All right, let's add that final layer of polish. We know when something happens and what happens. Now let's figure out how to say for how long it happens.
This right here is where so many people get stuck. Which word do you use for? Is it depuis, pendant, or pour? They seem so similar, but trust me, they are not interchangeable. Their meaning is super specific, and it all depends on the timeline you're talking about.
This timeline is your secret weapon. Look at it closely. Depuis is all about connecting the past to right now. Pendant is for a completed chunk of time in the past, and pour is all about looking ahead to the future. Let's see what that looks like in action.
So here's the bottom line. You use depuis for something that started in the past and is still going on. J'étudie le français depuis 3 ans means you're still studying it. You use pendant for a block of time that's totally finished. J'ai dormi pendant 8 jours means that thankfully the sleeping is over. And use pour for a planned amount of time in the future. Je suis en stage pour 3 jours means the internship lasts 3 days starting now or soon. And there you go. From the simple stuff like the clock and the calendar, all the way to the tricky business of duration, you now have the core building blocks for talking about time in French.
So, what are the big takeaways here? First, remember those super simple formulas for dates and times. Second, get those 6 error verb endings locked in your memory. And finally, for duration, just think about that timeline. Depuis for ongoing, pendant for finished, and pour for the future.
You've got the grammar, you've got the structure. You literally have the tools to talk about your past, your present, and all your future plans. So the only question left is, what story are you going to tell first?